These student athletes have been waiting for this opportunity to showcase their talents and skills amongst their peers. They've worked hard and stayed focused. A lot of these student athletes are wanting to be able to get opportunity to also show their talents on the next level and get secondary education. There are many of other schools working this out for their students and making it work, and I'm very positive that we can do the same. We were able to come together as a community and make this safe for these athletes, coaches, volunteers, etc. I'm asking that you please reconsider your decision and allow these children to play. They have took drastic, very mature steps in asking you to give them this opportunity and okay, like the rest of the schools. This means a lot to these kids and their families and community. It's only right to let them try. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson, for sharing the public comments, and we thank members of the community for also sharing their comments, and we will respond accordingly. Thank you very much. We know that the beginning of the school year is a very busy time. It's also a very challenging time, and much has happened as we have opened schools in the Harrisburg School District. And we know that opening 100% online, given the data, safety, and health reasons, is enormous. And that's something we're continuing to examine. There is a lot underway. And I'd like to ask our superintendent, Mr. Christopher Selmer, to begin his report, turn it over, the meeting over to him, and to provide us with the comprehensive update, which he so beautifully does. Thank you, Mr. Selmer.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Good evening to the public, and I also thank the public for their comments this evening. What we'd like to do is take a few minutes and provide an update as far as start of school and what could be a return to in-person learning opportunity depending on what happens over the next couple of weeks. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So as we shared back in July, pathway to classroom instruction was option A, and we were going to start 100% remote with the hopes that conditions would change with COVID-19, that we would be able to strategically move in a direction where we would have in-person learning with specific cohorts of students that would be able to happen. Our hopes were by the mid-September to end of September. Obviously, with the data at the end of August to early September, we weren't there at that point. But I do have some updates regarding that data that I'll share in a few minutes. So just as a reminder, option A, phase one, was pathway to classroom instruction. The school district is currently operating under a 100% virtual platform. What does this mean? Option A is virtual live instruction partnered with independent work. So the instruction is taught by Harrisburg School District teachers. Students must follow a specific schedule as they would during a normal school day. Our option B, which is our Harrisburg Virtual Learning Academy, where the instruction is asynchronous. It's self-paced learning with the flexibility to complete work independently. This option was designed for families that needed more flexibility based on the remote learning environment, and that we would be 100% online to start the school year. Again, vast difference between option A, which is live instruction on a set schedule, just like brick and mortar schedule, and option B provides much more flexibility, asynchronous, self-paced instruction. So obviously over the 3 weeks, we've heard a lot of feedback. We've learned, like many school districts, we just went through the process of taking an entire school district and making it 100% virtual online, basically within 6 months. Back in March, we were a 1 device for every 5 student district. And over the summer, we were able to work towards being a 1-to-1 school district to start this school year. But part of those lessons learned is a proposed schedule modification to our option A, which is our virtual live instruction. I'm going to pause and ask Dr. Sneath to take a few minutes, and just walk through a sample of what this schedule modification would bring for our learners. Dr. Sneath.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our meeting tonight. Yes, we have been collecting information from all of the stakeholders in Harrisburg to really think through how we can sustain this remote schedule until it's safe to return to the classroom. What we are learning is that from the family's perspective and from our students' perspective, being online all day can be very, very draining. We have proposed an adapted schedule for our K-4 learners that puts and places all of their core instruction that is synchronous in the mornings, so that students will have, they will start school at the regular time. They will have their 30 minutes of classroom meeting. They will have their math and ELA, their synchronous instruction, which is their meetings with their teachers. They will have science and social studies, and then they will have a lunch break. Following the lunch break, students will log right into their special, which is art, PE, music, library, or STEM, depending on the day. Following the special, students will then meet up again with their teacher for a brief classroom meeting so that the teacher can prepare the student for asynchronous or independent instruction that should happen at home and can be flexible to work with a family schedule. So in essence, instead of students being online from 8:50 in the morning till 3:50 in the afternoon, students are finished with their synchronous instruction by 2 o'clock at the latest. We also have special time built in for intervention as well as one-to-one meetings. And we've also really listened carefully to parents who have questions and they need to ask questions. So we've put 15 minutes of office hours at the beginning of every school day and at the end of every school day, so that parents know that there's a predictable time when they can ask their child's teacher a question. Additionally, we were hearing very similar information from our 5th through 12th grade students. In their cases, it wasn't necessarily that they were struggling to stay online all day, but doing all day online instruction for multiple consecutive days was becoming very challenging. And we believe that it would be hard to sustain over time. So in essence, we're looking at our attendance information, and closer to the end of the week, we start to see that our students are kind of dropping out or not necessarily staying online the whole time. In an effort to combat that so that our students can get the instruction that they need, we are moving to a model where our students will be online and follow their daily schedule on Mondays and Tuesdays. They will be asynchronous all day on Wednesdays with the exception of their advisory period. And then they will come back on Thursdays and Fridays for 2 more days of synchronous instruction. So there's some variations to that. We have built in enrichment time. We've built in opportunities for our AP classes to continue to meet on a regular basis. And we also believe that our parents still have questions at the 5th through 12th grade level. So another piece of this is that we put in 15 minutes of office hours in the beginning of the day and again at the end of the day, so that if parents have a question, they don't need to wait for their response. They know every day that they can click the Zoom meeting of their child's advisory teacher and have access to the teacher to try to help and get answered right away.
Thank you, Dr. Sneath. Could you also touch on consumables as well, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
So I think that what we really want to say is that in this online environment, our main resource for learning is the computer and the software that our children are learning from. However, we know that in certain cases, some learning materials could be necessary. We have been distributing learning materials probably since July, whether it be in the form of donations for pencils and art supplies and glue and things like that, which were given out in July. But additionally, our teachers have put together multiple opportunities for families to come in and pick up consumable resources like their Eureka Math workbooks, like their Open Court workbooks, like their Science Fusion workbook. In addition, some school supplies like fluency cards, vocabulary practice. There's all kinds of materials that have been offered for parents to come and pick up. We were really happy to see that at one of our elementary schools, we had almost 75% of our families come to pick up these materials. So there has been some question that about materials, and these materials, just listen closely to your school's messaging about the materials that are being distributed, because we know that we need to provide materials for students to learn. For the most part, however, education has been adapted to be provided on a virtual platform. So when they need materials, we're going to send it out there and make sure we send those materials to you. But you'll also see that if you really look at the platforms that we have online, they are very robust. They have lots of excellent text. We have books online for our students to use as their text. So that's
Thank you,
where
Dr.
we are. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Sneath. And the district, as we've done since March, any updates to our educational programming is done through updates to our continuity of education plan. So currently, we are in the process of a meet and discuss regarding changes to the high school schedule with our Harrisburg Education Association. And we're hoping to finish up those discussions this week. And then the updated continuity of education plan will be posted for families, and the updates and changes Dr. Sneath referred to this evening will be part of that updated document. Pathway to classroom instruction, phase 2, as we reviewed back in August, our plan from day one was to take a stepped-in phased approach to start to bring students back when safe. And as an example, I just, again, wanted to share with the public that step 1 will be to return cohorts of special education students on a hybrid learning schedule, as well as pre-K counts, the one class we have, and our kindergarten students. If we're able to do that with success, we would then go to step 2, which would be a return of grades 1 through 4 of cohorts on, again, a hybrid learning schedule, which would mean there'd be reductions in numbers. It would be an A-B schedule, so we can ensure 6 feet of social distancing in all classrooms when we are ready to do so. And then step 3 would be looking at our 5 through 8 and our 9 through 12 students, again, on a hybrid learning schedule. And as we stated in August, Wednesdays would be a cleaning day, deep sanitation day, as well as Friday after school for all locations. When we're ready to start the return to classroom instruction, students will have to wear masks on a bus if they ride the bus and at school. The district will begin evaluating, which we have, this hybrid learning opportunity several times per month. And I'm going to give an update in a minute regarding the most recent update with the numbers. Families will be notified at least 2 weeks in advance of starting a hybrid in-person instructional model. Local and state data will continue to drive decision-making, and no outside visitors may enter school buildings without an appointment. Meetings will be done virtually whenever possible. Again, same parameters we laid out back in July and August. So, a hybrid learning model will be considered when we see the following, and it is the PCR testing positivity rate, and PCR is the type of test that's used, the primary test for COVID. If those rates are reduced for a 3-week period of reporting, we are currently looking for a rate to be in the 3 to 4% range. Currently, the state and the World Health Organization benchmark is 5%. Incidence rates per 100,000 residents are trending downward below a rate of 50 is another benchmark we're looking for. I'm pleased to report that newly reported data as of today showed In Dauphin County, a positivity rate of 3.3%. That's the first time we've seen something drastically below 5% for months in Dauphin County. For example, if you look at the prior 2 weeks, we were at 5% on the nose, 5.2% positivity rate last week, and now it dipped to 3.3%. So the clock starts now on that 3-week period of reporting, because we have to now determine, is this just kind of a once and done drop, and does it go back up? Or are we truly at a point where we're going to see sustainability as far as lower positivity rates, both in Dauphin County and the city of Harrisburg? The other key indicator is our case rates, incident rate per 100,000. That has also trended downward over the past 3 weeks. So several weeks ago, we were at 58.8 per every 100,000. It would then dropped last week to 45.5. This current number is 42.9. So again, we're seeing a decline, which is the direction we want this to go. And this would allow us to really consider bringing a cohort of students back for in-person instruction on a hybrid schedule. So again, really encouraged that we're seeing that data. We'll just have to see over the next couple of weeks, is this sustained, or was just a dip and then it returns back to the higher levels that we've been seeing for months within Dauphin County and the city of Harrisburg. Testing turnaround times continuing to improve. The final determination of making the transition to hybrid will still be made in consultation with state and local health professionals that we dialogue with on a regular basis. And I want to note, related to athletics, if the above thresholds are met and we successfully resume voluntary workouts, which we are planning to start tomorrow, our voluntary non-contact workouts are scheduled to start tomorrow afternoon. If this all trends in the right direction and things go well, the fall athletic season, the hybrid type season, will be evaluated. It was noted in the letter, which is posted, that we sent out about a week ago regarding athletics. And at the same time, still looking about, if the numbers don't improve, about a season that could happen, a winter, fall, spring season after January, which some schools that are opted out for fall are currently having discussions on. So we're looking at both what's happening locally currently with the cases, but we're also looking at, if things spike back up, what could something look like after January 1st. So we're monitoring both closely. Certainly don't want to give any false hope at this point, but there is hope, because the drop we've seen is significant. It's one that we have not seen in Dauphin County for months. So we'll continue to monitor, and we'll continue to update the public on those numbers, because the safety is being driven by this data. From day one, you can go through any information we've shared, and it is about the data. That's what's driving the decisions we're making on safety. And as we've said from day one, new information comes out, things continue to change, things evolve. And again, just over the last couple of weeks, things have changed and evolved. And our commitment is we're going to continue to monitor on a week-to-week basis. That's what we've done, and that's what we promised since day one, and we're going to continue to do that. Next slide, please. So when would we fully return to regularly scheduled activities, classroom, instruction, etc.? So we would want to see contact tracing fully coordinated, proactive local testing that's readily available. We would want to see that incidence rate below 10, testing positivity rates at a 1 to 2% threshold. And again, reliable treatments that are available, hopefully a vaccine in early start of next calendar year. And as we mentioned, final determinations will still continue to be in consultation with state and local health professionals. So again, these are the type of metrics and data points we're looking at to make those next decisions, so to speak. And I just want to note that PDE has also issued guidance regarding, the different models of learning and the incidence rate. So the incident rate metrics we're following are very well aligned with what PD had put out for school districts as far as guidance of low, moderate, and substantial transmission within a community and a county. So I just wanted to share that as well. The other piece, just to mention, as we move on through the meeting, Dr. Sneath's overview of the schedule, and as she said, you know, the schedule that was initially started, that we started the school year with, was also based on the fact that we still, as a school district, need to meet certain requirements. And those requirements are 180 days of instruction, 990 hours of instruction for elementary, secondary. So I just want to make sure the public, again, clearly understands that there is no legislation that was passed for this current school year that waives those requirements. There was legislation passed last March. It was Act 13 that waived those requirements. So while we are doing our best to garner the feedback and make the appropriate adjustments, we still have to ensure that we meet the requirements of the state as far as our number of days and number of hours of instruction. And my last comment before we move on to the Office of Superintendent, again, I want to thank the students who came out last week and expressed their desire, their strong desire to be able to participate in athletics. I appreciate the comments they shared. I appreciate their leadership. There's some natural leaders in the student body that were at the administration building last week, sharing their heartfelt feelings. A couple have continued to email even after, and we've had dialogue back and forth. And again, I just want to commend our student leaders for their leadership and having their voice heard. And we heard your voice. It's one of the reasons we're making the adjustment to give the voluntary non-contact workouts to restart them in hopes that we are successful with that. And then we'll see where the data and where the virus takes us over the next couple of weeks. But again, I want to thank and commend our students for a job well done last week. And if we could transition into the Office of Superintendent, Dr. Samuel's letter A, the updates we provided a few minutes ago would cover the superintendent's report updates. So I'd like to move to letter B, which is the MVP, MOU, and tuition rate. MVP, as was shared in our presentations in July, August, and there's also a letter, an update FAQ that's attached to presentations regarding HVLA and MVP. Back in August, the school district entered into a memorandum of understanding that is on the August 10th agenda. It was approved regarding the first year startup of HVLA being supported by the Montgomery virtual program. With the MOU states a one-year transition where the district and the Harrisburg Education Association would work to transition the program to the Harrisburg School District teachers we have here in district. The reason we did that is because there were so many unknowns to start the school year as we transitioned the school district to 100% virtual online model. So I just wanted to be clear with that background. There's a document, again, attached under presentations that if you didn't see the FAQ that we posted, please take a look at that. I think it'll answer a number of questions that were being asked. And again, you can also go back to board docs in August and look at the presentations that are posted as well as the MOU. For tonight, I'm requesting the receiver ratifies the attached MOU for the MVP Asynchronous Learning Program. MVP is being used to support the implementation of our Harrisburg Virtual Learning Academy program. The tuition rate for the program is $24.9750 per student per semester. I would like to just give our public a comparison point for the average rate for a cyber charter student that leaves Harrisburg School District is $14,000 a year or $7,000 per semester. So again, this will be paid for from the general fund, a PCCD grant funding, and CARES funding.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Sommer. And I also appreciate having you add the clarity in terms of, what led or impacted the decision. Again, opening online and providing these platforms, very different. And there were a number of questions and uncertainty, and this allows the appropriate transition as needed with the Harrisburg Education Association. So thank you for that. The recommendation in reference to the memorandum of understanding with the Montgomery virtual program for asynchronous learning instruction is approved in the amount of $2,497.50 per student per semester. And as you noted, the funding source will stem from the PCCD grant in addition to CARES funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Letter C is a ratification of a reorganization with our pupil services, high school, and virtual programming. I wanted to note salary modifications and changes are listed in the HR part of the agenda this evening, but I wanted the organizational structure to first come before you under the superintendent's office. So I'm requesting the receiver ratify the following organizational changes. Would be for Dr. Saida Achampan to move from the principal SciTech to the director of high schools role. Dr. Savina Grant Spencer, Miss Lenny Cordero, Miss Michelle Felton, Mr. Dwight Forrester would transition from assistant high school principals to associate high school principals. Both those changes would be from 9/1/2020 through 6/30/2021. Given all the unknowns in the current situation with COVID, we want to have this ratified on a one-year basis so we can continue to evaluate and make the appropriate modifications to support our high school students at Cougar, SciTech, and John Harris campus. Number 3 is a change for Dr. Marisol Craig, who's currently the principal of Cougar Academy, to move into a director of virtual programming and development role. Again, this would be a one-year role at this time, September 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. We believe, given the current landscape of education, that even when we come out of COVID, virtual learning and programming is going to be a critical component, more so than ever, in the way we deliver our education here in the Harrisburg School District. Mr. Adam Nornhold is currently the Information Technology Manager, and we're proposing moving him to Director of Information Technology. Mr. Nornhold and his team, again, will be instrumental as we continue to work through virtual programming supports for the Harrisburg School District. Miss Mary Ann Peters, who's currently the Supervisor of Student Services, we would move to the Director of Student Services, and Miss Julie Lamer, who is currently a data specialist at 214 days, would move to a 12-month position of Academic Data Coordinator, K-12. Those moves are associated with the retirement of Miss Mary Lou Seipel. And I just would like to note, Dr. Samuels, that these changes combined, given the retirement of Miss Seipel and not refilling her position, as well as not filling the position of the John Harris principal, actually produces a savings to the organization for the 2021 school year as far as payroll costs.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing, Mr. Summer. And as you so duly noted, we're going to look very carefully that the high school is a very, very important component and very important part of the educational program for students in this school district. We're going to look very carefully at the high school organization, with the hopes that this model works and that we see positive outcomes for students, for staff. Very, very important. So the recommendations that you have shared for high school restructuring, high school reorganization, in addition to the recommendations for pupil services, virtual learning, and pupil services and data are approved as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Letter D is the acceptance of a donation from the food bank, requesting that you ratify the receipt of a $10,000 donation from the Central PA Food Bank. Just want to publicly say thank you to the Central PA Food Bank. They've been a tremendous partner since March, specifically when COVID hit the community, and been kind of shoulder to shoulder with our efforts to continue to address food insecurities within the community.
Great. Thank you. I applaud you in saluting and recognizing and thanking the food bank for their assistance. The recommendation to accept the $10,000 donation from the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is approved.
Thank you. Letter E is a contract with Dr. Barbara Moore-Williams, and I'm asking that you ratify this attached contract with Dr. Moore-Williams for cultural proficiency training for the 2021 school year. Cost not to exceed $10,000. This will be paid for from the general fund. And I just want to make a note, this is something, Dr. Samuels, we discussed publicly, I believe it was in June, regarding the commitment to take this journey as an administrative team and ultimately support the entire organization with this work. So this is an exciting ask of ratification for Dr. Moore-Williams.
Great, thank you. And this is the opportunity to do what is right, to ensure that we look very carefully at equity, cultural proficiency, and to ensure that all staff members, have the appropriate knowledge, that their actions and, how we interact with our students, staff, and the broader community are addressed. The recommendation for the one-year contract with Dr. Barbara Moore-Williams for cultural proficiency training is approved with the notation that the amount is not to exceed $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you. My last item is letter F, MOU with the Salvation Army. And I'm requesting you approve the attached MOU between the Salvation Army and the Harrisburg School District for use of the outdoor basketball court. There is no cost to the school district, and this is part of our plan to begin our voluntary non-contact workouts beginning tomorrow for our athletes.
Great, thank you. And we thank the Salvation Army for working together with us. The Memorandum of Understanding between the Harrisburg School District and the Salvation Army for the use of their outdoor basketball courts at no cost to the district is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Samuels. We're going to move to Office of Human Resources. We have a very lengthy agenda with Ms. Lori Lillis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Good evening, Dr. Samuels. I'd like to start with item A, the approval of the following job descriptions, many of which were just mentioned in Mr. Selmer's section: Academic Data Coordinator, the Associate Principal, Director of Information Technology, Director of Student Services, Director of Virtual Programming and Development, and Pre-K Counts Coordinator.
Great. The recommendation for the approval of the 6 job descriptions that you noted are approved.
Thank you. Under section B, we have 3 retirements. Joyce Berkheimer, effective the end of December. James Molnar, a teacher at John Harris, effective next month. And of course, Ms. Mary Lou Seipold, who retired at the end of August.
We'd like to thank very sincerely the 3 employees for their service, their long-term service to the Harrisburg School District. Ms. Berkheimer, Ms. Molnar, Ms. Seipold. We appreciate all of their support and their service over the years. The retirements are approved.
Section C is our resignations and end of service, and you will notice there are 30 individuals listed there, keeping in mind that our last agenda was approximately 6 weeks ago. So this is quite a bit of time at the beginning of a school year for these resignations.
Yes. The recommendation for the acceptance of the resignations and end of service with the Harrisburg School District is approved. And once again, we'd like to thank the 30 individuals that are reflected, for their service over time to the children of the Harrisburg School District. Thank you.
Section D, you'll notice 14 new staff members we welcomed during this past month.
Okay. It is a pleasure to welcome the new staff members, the 14 new staff members to the Harrisburg School District. We look forward to working closely and supporting the staff members as they, work with our students and our families. And we are delighted that they are becoming part of the district. The recommendation for the approval of new staff members is accepted and approved.
Thank you. Section E, you will notice there are 25 change of status individuals listed in tonight's agenda.
The recommendation for the 25 staff members as presented for change in status is approved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Consistent with our HEA contract, we do have some individuals who have a column movement due to credits earned. The majority of those individuals are listed separately in a separate document, but there are 3 that are listed that we received their transcript effective on the dates that were listed. All others were effective on August 21st.
Yes. Thank you. The recommendation for column movement due to credits earned for the 3 staff members reflected on the agenda are approved, in addition to those eligible staff members as of August 21st, 2020. Your recommendation is approved.
Thank you. Section G, supplementals. There are 74 individuals listed for compensatory ed and other leadership positions within the district. And I would move for the approval for all of these this evening as well.
Okay. The recommendation for the 74 staff members as reflected for supplemental or stipends is approved.
Thank you. We have 1 unpaid leave of absence. Mr. Brown is doing his student teaching this fall, and we look forward to welcoming him back at the conclusion of his student teaching.
Okay. The recommendation for unpaid leave of absence due to student teaching for Mr. Brown is approved, and this time frame is effective from the end of August through December 18th, 2020.
Thank you. As we typically note under our family medical leave of absences, you do see that there are 9 individuals listed there this month.
Yes, and we know that family medical leave is for informational purposes only. And thank you very much for sharing these requests for the 9 staff members as reflected.
Under letter J, this is something that's fairly new, COVID-19 leave of absence, complying with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. These individuals qualify and have been approved pending your approval this evening for this leave of absence.
And thank you very much, Mrs. Lillis, for the background information. And here in the Harrisburg School District, again, we'd like to be consistent and compliant with the law and consistent with the Family First Leave Act due to COVID-19. As you have specified the parameters that are connected with this type of leave of absence, it is approved for the 14 staff members that are reflected. Thank you.
Thank you. And item K, ratification of agreements. We do have 2 AFSCME MOUs. We are requesting for approval this evening.
Great, thank you. The recommendation for the 2 memorandums of understanding, the memorandum of understanding with AFSCME that is dated August 20th, 2020 is approved, in addition to the memorandum of understanding with ASME dated August 17th, 2020 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lillis. Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Just one note on the HR agenda. I'd like to also, one of the changes is Mr. Eugene Spells is serving as interim principal of Roland while still principal of Scott Elementary. This is due to the resignation of Mr. Newton. So I just wanted to make sure publicly, in case anyone was not aware of that, we make that announcement since those were just approved this evening. Thank you, Dr. Samuels. And we're going to move on to Office of Business Services, Mr. Longridge.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Samuels, the first item tonight I have for your review and approval is the Tri-County Community Action Grant that Mr. Selmer mentioned a little bit earlier this evening. This is for internet connectivity. The amount of the grant award is $160,000. The grant period runs from August 24th of 2020 through August 31st of 2021.
Great. As Mr. Selmer has publicly done, and again, I'd like to join Mr. Selmer and the district in thanking Tri-County Community Action for their support of our children and families. The recommendation for the acceptance of the Tri-County Community Action Grant for internet connectivity in the amount of $160,000 from the time period that includes August 24th, 2020 through August 31st, 2021 is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
The next item I have this evening is approval of the Treasurer's Report. The report ending August 31st, 2020 in the amount of $47,618,176.23.
Great. The recommendation for the approval of the Treasurer's Report for the time period ending August 31st, 2020 is approved.
Dr. Samuels, we have no budget transfers for this month, so I'll move on to item D. Tonight we're requesting the approval or ratification, excuse me, of account payables check. These are for check runs August 12th, August 20th, August 27th, September 3rd, September 10th, September 11th, September 16th.
Thank you. The recommendation for the ratification of the accounts payable checks for the 15 check registers for the dates that you have articulated is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
Tonight we're asking for ratification for three payroll processing runs. The first is August 21st. The second is September 4th, and the third is September 18th.
The recommendation for the ratification of payroll processing for dates that include August 21st, September 4th, and September 18th, 2020 is approved in the amounts reflected. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. The next item, we have two fundraiser requests. The first one is a teacher requested funding through Donors Choose at Melrose School. This is for a table. The request was for online donations to purchase this table for a quiet study area. The amount of the request was $384.53. The second item is a request. It was a donation from Ben Franklin PTA. It's for a t-shirt sale. And this fundraiser request was to raise money to support the Ben Franklin PTA. The company sponsoring the t-shirt sale was Artistic Imprints. The price of the t-shirts ranged from $14 through $30. And the profit margin on this was 40%. We're requesting approval of these fundraiser requests this evening.
I would like to just clarify, just to make sure the dates in reference to the fundraise request. Is that February 21st, 2020 through
Yes.
May 5th? Okay, just
yes, Dr. Samuels, and thank you. I apologize. I should have mentioned mentioned this. The teacher reached out to me. This was one of the situations that was caught up in the COVID shutdown. She had had this underway right as we started in the fall, in the spring, and didn't really engage with me until she came back for the fall semester. So that's why we're behind in getting this board approved. But we wanted it on the board agenda for review and approval here well after it finished. It
Right.
just got caught up in the whole COVID shutdown.
No, and thank you very much, Mr. Longridge, for the clarification. The recommendation for the approval of the two fundraiser requests for both the Melrose School and Ben Franklin Elementary School are approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. The next item I have this evening is a request for approval for phone system financing. Back in June of 2019, the board approved the purchase of a new phone system. What we're requesting from you tonight, Dr. Samuels, is to approve the financing piece for this new phone system. It's badly needed in the district, and we've secured a nice deal through access to a national contract that we can participate in. And we benchmark this against a local banking institution that we work with, and this is actually a very good rate. So the amount financed is $457,360. The term is 5 years. The annual lease payment is just over $100,000, $100,988.87. After the 5 years, we have a dollar buyout, so then the phone system will be ours. And I indicated on the agenda, it's been competitively bid through the Sourcewell contract, and I indicated the number there for our auditor purposes. So tonight we're asking for your approval on this, and this will allow us to move ahead with the purchase and replacement of our phone system, which I understand is well over 10, almost 15 years old, and it's at the end of its useful life.
Thank you. The recommendation for the approval of phone system financing with NCL Government Capital is approved. And so duly noted, you mentioned this is a 5-year term.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
The last item I have this evening is to request approval for, excuse me, request your approval, Dr. Samuels, of an agreement with Montgomery County IU to provide medical practitioner service for our school-based access program. This is a very reasonable cost to allow us to continue with this very important federal funding piece for the school district. The amount of the contract is $3,475. And this will allow us to use unlimited number of reviews from their medical provider to review documents related to IEPs, and it will allow us to start submitting these claims to the access program, which will trigger the funding to the school district. So we're requesting this approval tonight.
And thank you very much, Mr. Longridge, for the explanation. The access program, of course, is very important to the Harrisburg School District. We'd like to adhere to the appropriate protocols for submission and following every expectation. We know that the documentation must be reviewed by a medical practitioner for the final before the final submission to take place. So the recommendation for the access services agreement with the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit is approved for the amount, which is very, very cost efficient for $3,475 for the 2020-21 school year. Thank you very much for these recommendations, Mr. Longridge.
Thank you, Mr. Longridge. Dr. Sneath, Office of Academics.
Good evening, Dr. Samuels.
Good evening.
The first The first request for approval will be, I'll go through them, but there are various staffing contracts for our positions in special education that remain challenging to fill. The first one is with Solient Health Services for contracted speech pathologist services at the rate of $67 to $71 per hour. And this contract goes from September 2020 to June 4th, 2021. Listed below are the names of our 3 speech pathologists that will be working with our district.
The recommendation for the contract for speech pathology provided by Solient Health Services is approved. Thank you.
Additionally, advanced staffing agreement for contracted speech pathologist services at the rate of $70 to $72 per hour, and school psychology services at the rate of $82 per hour is another staffing agency. Our contract is from September 15th, 2020 to June 4th, 2021. Funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation for services provided with advanced staffing for both speech pathology and psychological services is approved.
Human Edge Staffing is an additional contract with speech pathologist services at the rate of $65 to $75 per hour, and school psychology services at the rate of $65 to $75 per hour as well. The contract with this organization is from September 2020 to June 2021. Funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation for contracted services with Human Edge Staffing is approved.
Thank you. General Healthcare Resources, LLC is an organization that provides nursing at the rate of $54 per hour and school psychology services at the rate of $80 per hour. Additionally, occupational therapy services at the rate of $72 per hour, and speech pathology services at the rate of $70 per hour. Our contract is from September 2020 to June 2021, and the funding source again is the general fund.
Great. The recommendation for contracted services with General Healthcare Resources, LLC is approved. And as you noted, that will be for nursing services, school psychology services, occupational and speech pathology services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm requesting approval to provide PCA services with Specialized Services of Pennsylvania for Capital Academy at the rate of $19,569.60 per year from August 2020 to June 30th, 2021. The funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation for contracted services with Specialized Services of Pennsylvania for Capital Academy is approved.
I am requesting approval of 5 independent contracts with school psychologists from September 25th to August 31st at the rate of $1,000 per evaluation, $1,200 per evaluation that is in Spanish, and $1,000 per re-evaluation. The funding source is the general fund, and you can see the names of our contracted professionals there.
The recommendation for 5 school psychologists who are independent contractors in the amount reflected is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Request approval with the Advocacy Alliance to work with us on a trust for $26,000 compensatory education. Funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation, the contract with Advocacy Alliance is approved.
We are requesting approval of translation services at the rate of $95 per hour with Latino Connections from September 1st, 2020 to August 1st, 2021. Funding source is the general fund.
Great. The recommendation for the approval The contract with Latino Connections for translation services is approved.
The next four are all various contracts with News Story. The first one is a contract amendment for the 2021 school year. There are 11 students at the rate of $275 per day from August 25th, 2020 to June 4th, 2021. Funding source is the general fund. News Story contract amendment for ESY services. For 10 students at $275 per day from June 20th to July 29th, 2020, funding source general fund. A News Story Harrisburg ESY tuition rate for the 2019-2020 school year for one student at $275 per day, 8 students at $380 per day, and one student at $530 per day from June 22nd, 2020 to July 29, 2020. And lastly, News Story Harrisburg tuition for the 2021 school year, one student at the rate of $275 per day, 9 students at $380 per day, and one student at $530 per day from August 25th, 2020 to June 4th, 2021, all sourced from the general fund.
Thank you. The recommendations for the contracts with News Story, noting that the first one was an amendment. The three reflect extended school year, and noting that the final reflects tuition for the 2020-21 school year. The 4 recommendations are approved. News Story. Thank you.
Requesting approval for an independent contract for one psychometrician at the rate of $60 per hour from September 24th to August 31st, 2021. Funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation for the independent contract for psychometrician is approved.
And lastly, in the special ed category, recommend the approval of with Fox Rothschild LLP for $26,000 compensatory education and $7,500 attorney's fees. Funding for the funding source is the general fund.
The recommendation regarding compensatory education with the support of Fox Rothschild is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under English language services, I'm requesting the approval of an affiliation agreement with Northeast Migrant Education Program for extended day after school in-home tutorial and summer program for migrant students from September 17th, 2020 to I think there is an error there, June 30, 2021. I apologize for that. Contingent upon and modified to meet the parameters of safety due to the COVID-19 situation. This is of no cost to the school district.
Thank you. The recommendation for the agreement with Northeast Migrant Education for extended day services for the time period that includes September 17th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 is approved. And as you noted, there will be no cost to the school district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will happily request permission to approve the Harrisburg School District 2019-2020 list of graduates.
Awesome. And this is exciting. This is consistent with our board policy, official policy, that we officially accept and approve the list of graduates for the 2019-2020 school year. And we certainly do wish all of our graduates much success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Under D, learning resources, I'm requesting approval for purchase of Make Music platform, which is a K-12 music composition software to use in the remote environment at the rate of $2,400 for the 2021 school year, funding resource general fund.
The recommendation for the approval of Make Music platform K through 12 is approved.
Additionally, Quaver Ed Online is a general music resource for students in grades K-8. Our contract is from August 24th, 2020 to August 24th, 2021 in the amount of $8,680. The funding resource is the general fund.
The recommendation for Quaver Online educational services, their resources is approved.
Thank you. Ingenuity is our 6th through 9th grade online platform. I'm requesting approval for site licenses for Camp Curtin, Marshall Math Science, Roland, John Harris, Harrisburg High School John Harris Campus, Cougar Academy, and the SciTech Campus for online digital library for students in grades 6 through 12. The cost for the year is $125,566.25 from August 7th, 2020 to August 7th, 2021. The funding source is the CARES funding.
The recommendation with learning.com for K through 8 digital literacy software and professional learning is approved. Dr. Sneath, you can read the next 3 affiliations together.
Sure.
Thank you.
The affiliation agreement between Millersville and Harrisburg School District to provide master's level social work interns to work within the school district. This is at no cost to the district. An affiliation agreement is presented from Dauphin County Department of Drug and Alcohol Services with Harrisburg School District to provide SAP services, student assistance program services for the 2021 school year. And an affiliation agreement between Penn State University, Nutrition Links Extension to provide SNAP Ed services for Harrisburg residents held at the Harrisburg High School John Harris campus for the 2021 school year. An addendum was also added to the attachment from the SNAP Ed process to make it remote. So there is an addendum process for supporting nutrition during the COVID-19 crisis, and that too is provided. These services, all services just presented, are at no cost to the school district.
Great. Thank you so very much. The recommendations for the agreements, the affiliation agreements, are approved, and those include with Millersville University, with Dauphin County Department of Drug and Alcohol Services, and also with Pennsylvania State University.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sneath. Office of Operations, Mr. Glass.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Good evening, Dr. Samuels. I have several items for your consideration this evening.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Glass.
Under item A, technology. Number 1, I recommend ratification of a contract with independent contractor Dave Borgo to provide support for eSchool Plus student information system from September 1, 2020 through October 31, 2020, and provide staff additional training at a cost of $2,500 monthly. Funding source, general fund, total cost $5,000. Item number 2, I recommend approval of a contract with Strategic Link Consulting for a prepaid support block for 28 hours of high-level support for Active Directory, Office 365, Exchange, System Center, SharePoint, Microsoft Identity Manager, SQL Server, and Windows servers. Funding source, general fund, total cost $4,760. Item number 3, I recommend ratification of a contract with Verizon Wireless to provide the district with 4G wireless hotspots for students that do not have internet access in the home. This agreement allows Verizon in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to offer the district a distance learning data plan and equipment offerings at discounted rates. Cost is $15 per month for hotspot, and that's unlimited data. The funding source is Tri-County Community Action Grant, and the cost is $600 monthly for 40 units. Item number 4, I recommend approval of a contractor with Montgomery County Intermediate Unit that offers the district additional disaster recovery options by providing us with 5 terabytes of Azure Cloud backup in the MCIU tenant. The cost is $749 monthly, and the funding source is the general fund. Total cost is $8,988 annually. And number 5, also recommend ratification of contracts with Comcast to provide the district with QR codes to access the Internet Essentials program for students that do not have internet access in the home. Funding source is also the Tri-County Community Action Grant, and the cost will be based upon the number of QR codes distributed at $9.95 per month per QR code. And just to clarify, in case there's any confusion, item number 3 and item number 5 are 2 different items. They're both options for students to have internet in the home. The Comcast agreement provides the student with internet access at their house and a wireless modem. The Verizon contract provides them with a hotspot, which in some situations we have homeless students as well as students that may move from their home to daycare and still are in need of internet access.
Mhm. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Glass, for the 5 technology recommendations that you have provided, but also thank you very much for the clarity, the clarification in terms of what these recommendations are actually for. The recommendation for the independent contractor, Mr. David Borgo. The recommendation for the approval of a contract with Strategic Link Consulting. The recommendation for the ratification for the contract with Verizon Wireless. The contract with Montgomery County Intermediate Unit for the additional disaster recovery option support, in addition to the contract with Comcast. These contracts are approved and are essential and a necessity as we continue to provide support for children and families with online and also to support the operations of the district for the technological services and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Under facilities, I have 4 items. Number 1, I recommend approval of a contract with Weatherproofing Technologies Incorporated, WTI, for a roof maintenance agreement. This agreement will cover all district rooftops. The contract will provide us with valuable data as we navigate through the restoration replacement plan. Storm reports, inspection reports, and preventative maintenance will be provided, as well as leak protection. All these services and more will increase the longevity of our roofing systems. The funding source is the general fund, and the cost is $60,220.11. And I just want to put this into a little bit of perspective. We have 886,000 square feet of roof in the Harrisburg School District. And if you're having a rough time putting what that looks like, that's the size of 15 and almost a half of John Harris football fields. It's one of the things that we probably think about the least, but it's one of the most important things. And as we navigate through, we're at a point where there's replacements that need to be done. This is going to protect us. My fear, through the rainy season is fine. Rain runs. However, we're coming to snow season, and when you have 4 inches of snow sitting on the roof and you have a hole maybe the size of a quarter, it can create a huge amount of damage in everything below it, as well as disrupt the educational process. The cost of this is 6.8 cents per square foot. So I bring that to you tonight for consideration. Item number 2, I recommend approval of a contract revision with Water Treatment by Design that was approved on June 22nd, 2020 for the water treatment of chillers, cooling towers, and closed loops across the district. This revision will include 3 remaining sites: Hamilton, SciTech, and the field house at John Harris campus. The funding source will be the general fund, is $900 per quarter for the 3 remaining corners left on the original contract. Total cost is $2,700. Item number 3, I recommend approval of a contract with Orkin. This contract is for the bait treatment and monitoring service of confirmed termites at the Lincoln Administration Building. This is a 1-year contract which will be evaluated prior to the expiration. Should additional monitoring services be required, Year 2 of the monitoring will be at a cost of $1,029.21. The funding source is general fund, total cost $7,917. And item number 4 is I recommend approval of a contract with Velocity EHS. This contract will provide the district with an online solution to maintain material safety data sheets online. This solution will improve accessibility to our safety data sheets for right to know compliance. The funding source will be the general fund. Total cost is $4,948 for year 1, which includes a one-time implementation fee of $699.
Thank you for sharing the 4 facilities recommendations and for the clarity that you have also provided and the proactiveness as well. The recommendations for the approval of a contract with Weatherproofing Technologies Incorporated, in addition to water treatment by design, as well as the contract with Orkin, and finally the contract with Velocity EHS. Each of the contracts is approved. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
And under food services, I have 3 items. They are all contracts to purchase meals. Number 1 is approval of contract to purchase meals with Logos Academy for the 2021 school year. The district will provide breakfast priced at $2.35 per unit, and lunch will be priced at $3.75 per unit. Based on the estimated servings and estimated serving days, the contract value will be approximately $33,426. This is subject to fluctuate based on actual enrollment. Item number 2 is recommend approval of a contract to purchase meals with Capital Academy for the 2021 school year. The district will provide lunch priced at $3.75 per unit. Based on the estimated serving and the estimated serving days in the contract value will be approximately $47,250. This is also subject to fluctuate based on enrollment. And item number 3 is recommend approval of contract to purchase meals with Capital Area School for the Arts, CASA, for the 2021 school year. The district will provide lunch priced at $3.65 per unit. Based on the estimated servings and estimated serving days, the contract value will be approximately $26,280. This is subject to fluctuate based on actual enrollment.
Great, thank you. The 3 recommendations for food services for the 2020-2021 school year to approve the services for meal purchases with Lagos Academy, Capital Academy, as well as Capital Area School for the Arts is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have one more item under transportation, and that is recommend approval of a transportation contract with Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf, WSPD. This contract is for the transportation of 2 district students to and from Camp Hill, Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the 2021 school year at a cost of $6,710 per student. Funding source is the transportation fund. Total cost $13,420.
Thank you. And the recommendation in reference to transportation, the transport of students with Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf for our students, 2 of our students, is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Office of Accountability, Dr. Momin.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Good evening, Dr. Samuels.
Good evening, Dr. Mumin.
I recommend approval for a 1-year renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding between Harrisburg School District and Keystone Services Incorporated, doing business as Capital Area Head Start for the period of September 1, 2020 through September 1, 2021. The MOU meets federal programs monitoring requirements, and the purpose of this agreement is to describe the responsibilities of each agency and to provide guidance for coordination and cooperation between local education agencies and Head Start.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the further explanation in terms of what this memorandum of understanding will encompass. The recommendation for the memorandum of understanding between the Harrisburg School District and Keystone Services to, collaborate and do business with the capital area Head Start. The 2021 school year is approved, and we know that's from September 1st, 2020 through September 1st, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Romine. Policy recommendations. There are no policy recommendations on the agenda for this evening. Before I turn it back to Dr. Samuels, I just want to make one closing comment, and I just want to say thank you to our families and our parents and for all their support over the start of the school year. The first couple of weeks of school under normal circumstances are always difficult and challenging, and the fact that we took an entire school district to a virtual platform within 6 months was 100 times more challenging. And certainly there were bumps in the road, especially the first week or two, but our families showed grace, they showed patience, they worked with us, they worked with our IT group as they worked through the really level of tickets and support that we've never seen before in the Harrisburg School District. But they really worked with us as we went through those transitions. There were certain things, that were even out of our control as a school district, platforms that many school districts rely on, like Edgenuity, that were taxed to its limits with all the school districts needing virtual platforms to be part of their instructional model for the start of the school year. But again, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to our families and also our staff, our teachers, our support staff, our IT group, food service, etc. Everyone did a phenomenal job under extremely difficult and challenging circumstances to get the school year up and running, and we still have a lot of work to do, but it's appropriate to pause and say thank you for all the effort and the hard work, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you, Dr. Samuels. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Great. And Mr. Selmer, thank you very much for those comments. And I too would like to pause and to say thank you and the team. But I especially like to recognize and to talk about our students, our families, our staff members, the broader community. School opening is challenging and has been challenging, and it is very difficult. And we recognize that to open 100% online. And we are carefully looking at the data and the numbers as Mr. Selmer has articulated, and that certainly will guide some of the next steps and decisions that are made. But we are here to serve you, and so we'd like to know whether it's teaming and hearing directly from our students, our parents, from community organizations. We'd like to know how we can further support, help to make schooling and supporting, working with and for our students that much better. That's the other piece, to pause and to figure out, how do we continue to enhance and embellish so that we are servicing together the students of this district. Please let us know, reach out. The other piece, we hope that, you'll take advantage of what's on the website, and that's constantly changing. There are a number of connected or robocalls that are made. Take advantage of the district app, but we like to communicate often and consistently, but we are counting on everyone to share the messages, counting on everyone to let us know how we can improve and get better so that we can really focus on doing what's right for the students of the district. On that note, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us this evening. We know that there's much work to do, much work to be done. So thank you so very much. And I'd like to officially adjourn the meeting for September 21st, 2020. Have a good night to everyone, and thank you once again.